Hello everyone. I am so excited that we get to do some learning together today. Today we have 4 things that we're going to do. First, we're going to learn a song. Then we're going to read a story. Then we're going to interview a special guest. And last, we are going to do a little writing. All right, I am super excited for all the fun things that we're going to do today. Before we get started though, let's look at our learning goal. Okay, read the words that you can. I can identify fiction and non-fiction books. I know that I have heard those words before, fiction and non-fiction, but I don't know if I know what they mean. Can anyone help me out? What is fiction? I just heard someone say that fiction is like pretend or make-believe. Not real. Okay. But what about nonfiction? Oh. So fiction or nonfiction, I heard someone say, is things that are real, like facts and things that really happened. Okay. That's still a little bit confusing for me though. Do you guys want to learn a song that helps me remember what fiction and nonfiction are? All right, so we're going to sing this song 2 times. And the first time, I want you to just listen so that you can learn some of the words. And the second time, I want you to try your very, very best to sing along with me. All right, let me get my singing voice on. La, 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 la. I think I'm ready. Okay. Fiction stories are not real, are not real. Unicorns and dragons, we use imagination when we read. Non-fiction, just the facts. History and science, we learn about the world when we read. All right, you guys ready to sing it with me this time? So remember, fiction is not real. It's pretend, make-believe. There might be unicorns or dragons as characters. And nonfiction is when we learn something. It's a story that teaches us something, like maybe we're learning about history or learning about science. It's real things, facts. Okay, singers, are you ready? Do you need to do a little warm-up? La 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 la. La 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 la. Okay, we ready? Here you go. Fiction stories are not real. Unicorns and dragons, we use imagination when we read. Non-fiction, just the facts. History and science, we learn about the world when we read. You guys did such a great job singing with me. That second time singing was so much better than when I sang it just by myself. Now, I'm wondering if you could teach that song to someone else. I know that you guys learn songs so quick. So I'm sure that you could teach that song to someone else. If you want to listen to it again, you can go back and you can practice the song again. Now, let's look at our goal again. So we wanted to know fiction and nonfiction. So it said, I can identify fiction and nonfiction books. So that means we're going to be able to look at a book and decide, is this fiction or is this nonfiction? So I have a little quiz for you. And you guys ready? Here we go. I'll see you in the bottom corner. Okay, so it's time to see if we can identify fiction and nonfiction books. Remember, our fiction books are not real. That's when we use our imagination and we might have dragons or unicorns in a story. And our nonfiction is just the facts when we're learning about the world, maybe history or science. Okay, so I am about to show you a picture of some books that we have already read this school year. And your job as fast as you can is to blurt out, is it fiction or is it nonfiction? Okay, all right, readers, let's go. Our first one is Brave Bear. Is that fiction or nonfiction? You got it. It's fiction. That story is not real, but it was a very cute story. What about this one? What happens at an airport? Fiction or nonfiction? You got it. It's nonfiction. This story taught us something, and it is a real, factual story. Next one. A Day in the Life of a Zookeeper. So we read this in class, and Miss Lay just read it last week in her video. Is this fiction or nonfiction? Give yourself a pat on the back. You're right. It is nonfiction. This is a story about a real life zookeeper. Okay, so now we have this story, A Letter to Amy. Was this fiction or nonfiction? Yeah, I see some of you are thinking, people could really write letters and it could really get lost in the wind, but this story is fiction. Some of the things in this story could really happen, but it is not a real life factual story. Okay, what about this one? Doctor's Help. Whoa, you guys got that fast. You're right, it's nonfiction. We learned about doctors in that story. Oh, you guys loved this story. What about Cookies Week? Fiction or nonfiction? You got it. That story was fiction. That was not a real story. So now we are going to read a story called Hobbies. I want you to just look at the picture for a second. Do you think this is a fiction or nonfiction story? It is nonfiction. So this is a story about real people, and when there's photographs in here, like real life pictures, that always gives us a little bit of a clue that it's a real story, so it's nonfiction. And this is a story that I got off of Raz Kids. Some of you have probably been reading books off of Raz Kids. So if you wanted to read this book by yourself on Raz Kids or listen to it, you could. Just find it. So this story is called Hobbies, and it is written by Russ Boyack. Hobbies, written by Russ Boyack. And we have a picture right here. And actually, before we get started, does anyone know what a hobby is? Oh, you guys got it. Yeah, hobbies are just the things that people like to do. So it looks like this family likes to do puzzles. That might be a hobby that they have. Different people have different hobbies. Hobbies help people relax and have fun. Look at all those different hobbies. Some people enjoy dancing. They like to move their bodies. Does anyone else like to move their bodies and dance around? I know that Miss Kozu's class has some excellent dancers. I bet a lot of other kindergartners are great dancers too. Some people enjoy collecting. They like to collect different things. Oh, it looks like this person is maybe collecting coins. Wow. Some people enjoy gardening. They like to grow plants. Oh, I bet some of you are doing that right now. Some people enjoy writing. They like to tell stories. You guys are going to do a little bit of writing soon. Some people enjoy singing. They like to make music. Does anyone else like to sing? Some people enjoy painting. They like to create art. Wow, I know I have a lot of artists in our kindergarten. Some people enjoy other hobbies. What are your hobbies? So in this picture, it looks like someone's hobby might be doing some magic right here. someone might like fishing or reading. Those are some great hobbies. So now we are going to do a writing job. Let's learn a little bit more about our writing job. So for your writing job, you are going to need to do an interview. So let's read we had 2 learning goals today. So let's read our other learning goal. I can interview someone and write a nonfiction story with just the facts. So you, in just a moment, are going to, well, actually after you're done watching the video, but I, in just a moment, am going to interview someone. And I know you guys are thinking, who can I interview? Well, let's look at a couple different people we might be able to interview. So you could interview your mom. You might interview your dad, maybe your brother or sister. You could interview another family member like a grandma or a grandpa or maybe an aunt or an uncle or a cousin. You could interview a friend. You could even interview your teacher. You could interview me if you'd like. I know that Miss Morris, Miss Fuller, Miss Lay, or Mr. Nichols would also be okay with being interviewed too. Now, for me, I have chosen to interview my mom. Now, what are we going to ask the people that we interview? So we have 2 questions we are going to ask. We're going to ask about the people that we are interviewing's hobbies. So the first one is, what is your favorite hobby to do inside? Okay. And then we're going to ask our person a second question. The second question we are going to ask is, what is your favorite hobby to do outside? Okay, friends, I am ready to go interview my mom. I'm going to call her up and I'm going to let you listen in on our interview. All right, you'll get to come meet my mom in just a minute. See you soon. So everyone, this is my mom, Mama Kozu.
Hi. Hi, everyone.
We just read a nonfiction story about people's hobbies. And now our job as writers is going to be to interview someone. I'm going to interview you about some of their hobbies because we are going to write a nonfiction story about whoever we interview. So my first question as an interviewer is, what is your favorite hobby to do inside?
I think I like maybe reading.
Okay. Any other
Inside.
hobbies?
Well, I sit around and watch TV. I like to visit. I like people to come and visit. So I like to chat. But I haven't been able to do a lot of that lately.
Yeah. What's your favorite hobbies to do outside?
Well, I like to swim. I like to bike. I don't much like to run, but I do run because I do triathlons. So I like to train for outdoor activities. I like to hike. I like to just be outdoors.
Okay. Now, as a writer, I'm going to remember those things and I'm going to write you a story that I'm going to show you later. And you're going to love it.
Okay.
So now I am done with my interview and I wrote down all the different facts that I learned about my mom during that interview. And now my job as a writer is going to be to choose a few of these facts to write about. So I think I'm going to write about what my mom likes to do outside. Okay, let's get started on our writing. Let's go. Now that I know what I want to write about, I am going to start with my picture. So my first step is to sketch with pencil. Next, I'm going to add my labels. Add as many labels as you can.
you can see here that I labeled the sun, I labeled water, I labeled my mom's helmet, I even labeled her glasses. Then I am going to write a sentence. For this, remember we are doing nonfiction writing, so that means that we are just writing facts. So the sentences I chose to write were, my mom does triathlons. She swims, bikes, and runs. When you are doing your writing, I want to challenge you to write at least 2 sentences. And now it's everyone's favorite part. I am going to add color. I'm going to add as much color as I can and add as much detail to my picture as I can. And now I'm looking back at my picture and I think I might be done. So I'm going to look at my writing checklist down here. I drew my picture, check. I used a capital letter at the beginning of each of my sentences, so check. I remembered my finger spaces in between my words. I've got labels on my picture. I used punctuation, so that means I used a period at the end of my sentences. And I used my very best sounding out that I could. So now I am all done with my writing, and I cannot wait to show this to my mom. Now, writers, it is your turn to do your interview and your writing. I would love for you to send a picture of your writing to me or your teacher because we would love to see all the great things that you are doing. And now, writers, just before you get started, I have a special sing-along surprise for me and my mom. Enjoy!
You want to learn a song? Because we're talking about the difference between fiction and nonfiction. And so I just learned a song. Do you want to learn it?
Okay. Yeah.
It goes like this. Fiction stories are not real, are not real. Unicorns and dragons, we use imagination when we read, when we read. Nonfiction, nonfiction, just the facts, just the facts. History and science, we learn about the world when we read, when we read. What do you think?
Oh, I like that.
Do you want to sing it with me?
Okay.
I'll go slow.
Okay.
Fiction stories,
Fiction stories
are not real.
Are not real.
Unicorns and dragons.
Dragons.
We use
Imagination.
when
we read. When we read.
Okay, next one. Nonfiction.
Nonfiction. Only just the facts. Just the facts.
History and science. We learn about the world when we
read. When we read.
That could be part of the blooper reel.